Hello. Hello, and welcome to a live Deprogram with Keri Smith. Some technical issues getting started today. Thank you for being here. It's not the usual time. We're streaming about 3 hours later. Had a lot of life stuff today, stuff we had to do around the house. So I appreciate you being here. We're going to get right into it. I'm witnessing the same things that you guys are messaging me about and talking about, this leftist terrorism that's happening across the country. And I wrote a Substack about it this morning. You can find my Substack at kerismith.substack.com. I believe Substack is currently down. Otherwise, I would share the image with you. But I'm going to share it on Facebook instead, because what we're witnessing around the country is not about ICE. It's not about immigration. And it's not about Trump. It's not about fascism. It's not about any of the things they say it's about. We know this. If you've been paying attention, if you've been awake for the past 7 years, 8 years, you know that the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. This is an image from yesterday from a church, a Christian church. This is one of the Christian children who was terrorized by Don Lemon and his communist leftist mob that stormed the church and interrupted these people's service. We're going to watch some clips of this, but I just wanted to read to you what I wrote about it, because I think it summarizes it better than I will off the cuff. But I said, none of the leftist terrorism we are witnessing is about ICE or immigration. Just like the leftist terrorism we witnessed during the BLM riots was not about Black people. Just like the leftist terrorism we witnessed in January of 2017 around Trump's first inauguration was not about Trump. Just like the no kings nonsense is not about Trump. For communists and fascists and revolutionaries and terrorists of all stripes, the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. We are in the middle of an attempted communist takeover of the United States, and we have been for some years now. Just like Lenin's useful idiots, the leftist white women you see at the forefront of this are puppets who have no idea what they're actually being used for. Stalin called them innocent, although well-intentioned sentimentalists. This is a war on America, on God, and on the family. This picture is one of the Christian children terrorized by Don Lemon and his commie mob at a church in Minnesota yesterday. Christians, conservatives, Americans, please know what we are up against. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And that's a quote from Ephesians, which many of you are familiar with. This image, I think, is going to be one of the images that defines this part of the war that we find ourselves in, this section of the war, this child crying. And of course, after this happened, Don Lemon left the church and is caught on tape saying that the children who had to be rushed out by their mothers, by the way, that the children who were traumatized, he said traumatized, he said they were traumatized and they were uncomfortable. And he characterized this as a good thing, that he said, this is what protests are about. Here's a bit of good news. The Attorney General's office has announced that they are going to be pursuing federal charges against Don Lemon and this commie mob of terrorists who infiltrated that church, who disrupted services, who terrorized these Christians. They didn't specify yet under which act, but people are speculating it's probably going to be one of the enforcement acts, like the KKK. One of them is known as the KKK Act. You do not have a right to interfere with or impede with people who are exercising their First Amendment right to worship God. I'm sorry, you just committed a federal crime. So we're going to watch a couple videos about this, and we're just getting right into it. So This first one is from, well, maybe X is not working today either. We'll see. I'm having trouble opening any of these links. Hold on. Maybe we'll start with, until I can get this to work, we'll start with Yuri Bezmenov. Let's see if the YouTube link works. I pulled up Yuri because, as many of you know, if you're familiar with him, he was a former KGB agent who gave a series of interviews in the 80s after he defected from the KGB. And he laid out everything that we're seeing happening around us today. He talked about how if you want to destroy a country like America, you don't have to do it with a hot war. You don't have to do it with troops or with forces, that you can do it with ideological subversion and through infiltrating all of the institutions. He talked about it being the long march through the institutions. And he laid out the 4 stages of ideological subversion that started at least as early as the 70s in our academic institutions, but arguably much earlier than that. What they've been doing is indoctrinating young people, indoctrinating entire generations to hate our country, to hate America. They've been feeding them with propaganda that is anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-God. And we are seeing the rotten fruits of this all around us today when we're watching these leftists in the streets committing acts of terror against random individuals. Some of the videos that have been coming out are videos of these supposedly anti-ICE protesters, right? Assaulting, confronting, harassing regular Americans in the street. In Minnesota, they have been going up to anyone who's driving an SUV. There's video footage of mobs of them surrounding citizens and pulling them out of their cars and interrogating them and accusing them of being ICE agents, asking to see proof that they're not ICE agents, which is pretty funny. It's pretty Nazi-like behavior, right? Pulling you over and saying, "Show me your papers." Isn't that what they're protesting against? Kind of funny. There's one where they assaulted a group of men who were having lunch at a restaurant in Minnesota. There's video footage of it. They surrounded the restaurant and they interrogated these men, accused them of being ICE agents, and these guys were like, "We're tech bros, like we're here having a lunch meeting, a business meeting." And those guys have spoken to the media since, and they said it's funny because some of the people in our group were actually very anti-ICE until this happened. And now, they're reevaluating everything, and if they really understand what's going on. We're gonna see more of this as they go after regular Americans. So I'm not getting the links to work. You guys let me know if everything else is working, if you can see me and hear me. What I'm gonna do is share a different browser instead because I've got it open on a different one. Here we go. Tell me if you guys can see this one. I'm just opening it in Safari instead. So this was Joel Berry shared this one. Joel Berry is one of my favorite follows on X. He and Seth Dillon, of course, are Christians, conservatives. They run the sites, the Babylon Bee, the parody site, which years ago overtook The Onion as being the funniest satire site. They also run Not the Bee. And Joel Berry is a person who I find regularly on point. And even he is becoming so disillusioned with these people. He says, "I don't want these people in my country. They don't deserve a country. They don't deserve civilization." And I understand the sentiment that he's expressing because they are anti-country. They are anti-civilization. Make no mistake. Like these leftist protesters, They don't care about immigration, right? They don't care about Black people. They don't care about women. None of the things they claim that all of their riots and protesting is about, they don't care about that. These are agents of destruction. Like, their entire purpose is to destroy society. You cannot again, this is what Yuri Bezmenov talked about. You cannot foment a communist revolution in a liberal republic, a capitalist country where people are doing well. You can't get the people to clamor and to beg for their own oppression in a country that's doing well. So you have two options. You can turn it slowly, you can chip away at borders, you can chip away at the rule of law, and you can try to turn it into a shithole country where people do start begging for communism, communist revolution. Or you can slowly, which is what's happened through ideological subversion, you can infiltrate the institutions of academia and you can brainwash and train entire generations like I was trained at Duke University in the 90s. It was going on then. I was indoctrinated then. You can indoctrinate entire generations to hate their own country and to beg for communist revolution. And that's what's happening. These people don't deserve a country, he says. They don't deserve a civilization. So this is there's a lot of video footage from the commie mob that terrorized this church yesterday. This is just one of those videos. We're gonna watch this one. Oh, okay. You guys are saying there's no sound. I'm sorry. Um, you know what? I'm gonna leave and come right back and see if the sound is working. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay. I believe we're back. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm sorry about the tech issues. I feel like YouTube is messing with me today, actually. They just made me re-log into my account and do a verification on the phone that this was me, but we'll see. Okay. See if you can see this. Let me know if you can hear it. We've got the Chrome working. I'm going to start it from the beginning. The Lord is safe in your house. The Tracy, you want to get your house in order? That is correct.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Don't shoot! 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 Shame! Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment, exactly. Say your name! Good! Say your name! Renee Good! Renee Good! Freedom! We have a duty to fight. We have a duty to fight. We have a duty to fight. We must love and support one another. All these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters. You come here to a man wearing a suit. Is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No, Jesus would dine with immigrants. You do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens. Hey, you can't. You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians. But we know you live an easy life, don't you? A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now. Living real comfortable while the people starve. Living real comfortable while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're all living real comfortable, aren't you? Shame on you. Do something. Stand with the Somalis. Stand with the Latinos. Quit ignoring this injustice. He wears a suit and tie and he hangs out with Kristi Noem. How is that a Christian? You're supposed to accept all immigrants, are you not? Why are you not going down to Whipple and joining us in protest against this inhumanity? You claim to be a Christian. Act like one.
So that was some of the footage, and yes, someone pointed out that's a commentator that was adding commentary on top of it. That guy has his own history. He's a crazy leftist agitator. We've got more footage from inside the church, specifically Don Lemon, who was an instigator who was there. And you can see they followed them out. They followed the children out into the van. They it's just this entitlement and this arrogance that they have a right to harass people in this way and to interrupt a service of worship, which they don't have a right to. They have violated federal law, and we live in a country of law and order. And as people have said in the chat, part of the reason that they feel emboldened to do this is because we have not been enforcing the law. I am very glad to hear that the Attorney General's office says they're going to pursue this, that it's at the top of their list, because you have to come at these people with the full force of the law, and you have to make an example of them. It has to be a deterrent. Like, we will not tolerate terrorism in this country. You don't have a right to do this to people. This is one of the Don Lemon clips, and this is him interrogating the pastor as he's standing at the front and trying to calm his flock down, trying to calm down his congregation.
This is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will.
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
This is just amazing. Yeah, there's a constitution with it, the First Amendment, which you mentioned, Don Lemon, which allows people to peacefully assemble and to worship God. And you just violated that. You violated several of the enforcement acts, including the KKK Act. So get ready. This is going to be interesting. A Sikh woman, Harmeet Dillon, who I love, who's the Assistant Attorney General, is going to be using probably the KKK Act to bring federal charges against a gay Black communist. So God bless America. It's pretty funny. Here we go.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much.
This is unacceptable. It's shameful.
Did you hear that demon say he's a Christian? Yeah. Okay, so here's another video of Mr. Lemon, and this one is outside of the church, and you can see the children fleeing. The parents are escorting them out. There were several children crying and traumatized by this, and listen to what Don Lemon says about them being traumatized.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid, and I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But again, careful. It's very slippery right here.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here. But that's what really careful, please. Really slippery. Not kidding. That's what protesting is about. And so, watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid, and
He says, I'm sure it's very uncomfortable and traumatic for these children, but that's what protesting is about, traumatizing kids. Is that what it's about? Interesting. I've got more footage here. This one was shared by Libs of TikTok.
Fuck you fucking traitor! How dare you!
Now, what you're listening to is leftists screaming at Christians as they walk into church.
Nazis! Fuck you fucking traitor! How dare you have a rainbow fucking umbrella, you Nazi bitch! How dare you try to steal that from our people! Fuck you Nazi traitor! You.
These are the demons like Don Lemon who will spit in God's face and say they're Christians. Listen to this language.
Nazis! Fuck you fucking traitor! How dare you have a rainbow fucking umbrella, you Nazi bitch! How dare you try to steal that from our people! Fuck you Nazi traitor! You. You indoctrinate these children so you can fucking rape them. Isn't that what it is, you fucking asshole? Is that what it fucking is, man? You think you're gonna bring your kids here and we're gonna spare you while you fucking support the bombing of children in Gaza? You fucking these fucking Nazi little bitches. Goddamn, be smarter than your parents. Your parents are fucking Nazis. You're such a Nazi little.
Who are the Nazis here? Who's acting like Nazis here? If you're a leftist watching, one of these leftist commie freaks watching, and I know on Facebook there's lots of you. I've heard from lots of you lately. That's why I'm streaming on Facebook, because that's where you guys are. I hope you're watching. I'm asking you to look at this and to do some self-reflection about, like, who are the Nazis? Who's behaving like a Nazi here?
of children in Gaza, you fuck at these fucking Nazi little bitches. Goddamn, be smarter than your parents. Your parents are fucking Nazis. You're such a Nazi little bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you think you can just destroy our nation? Why do you think you can bring back white supremacy? Why do you think you're better than everybody else? What the fuck is wrong with you assholes? Oh, it's funny, fucking Nazi piece of shit. What are you worshiping? You're fucking taking fucking whiskey shots with Hezgath. Be honest. Look at it. He laughed. He laughed because he knows it's true. You guys aren't fucking worshiping. Look at this bitch ass. You're worshiping. Look at this fucking little bitch ass little American pin. Look at this little bitch ass kid. Look at him. Yes. Yeah, move on, you punk ass bitch. You will be judged not by a god, but by a court of law, you fucking Nazi fuck. You can't tell me to stop. This is the sidewalk. This is the First Amendment. You are preventing my First Amendment rights. I am protesting. You are preventing me from practicing my First Amendment rights. You are violating the Constitution. You little bitch ass. What's your fucking excuse? I'm not near him.
You don't have to be that close.
Look at this little bitch putting his hands on me. Little punk ass bitch. All right, what's your fucking excuse? Why do you fucking go to a church that preaches? No, we know. What about the nationalism? What about the Christian nationalism? What is it about?
Is that all you got to say?
No, what is it about?
That's all you got to
What
say.
is it about, asshole?
I don't need to discuss
See, you won't defend yourself because you're a punk ass little bitch fucking Nazi. Fuck you, you fucking Nazi fucking piece of shit. Shame on you. You think you're fucking superior than people? You ain't shit, bitch. You ain't fucking shit. You ain't nothing but a fucking cowardly fucking traitor. Look at these spineless little bitches.
So yes, this guy screaming is the epitome of everything that's wrong with these leftists. This is not about ICE. This is not about immigration. We are watching an attempted communist revolution and an attempted communist takeover of the United States. And we've been involved in it in this Cold War for a while now. This is my friend James Lindsay talking about what happened in the church. And he said the Minnesota theater production, because it is a theater production, this is them performing. This Minnesota theater production meant to trigger Christians and conservatives into rash action, played its communist provocateur part fully on the nose. And then he's quoting my friend Paul Rossi, who says, we have nothing, the guy in the video is saying, we have nothing to lose but our chains. And Paul points out that's straight out of the Communist Manifesto. Let's watch this.
You know, on one side are people who watched a previous administration bring 12 million people in over the course of 4 years. You know, on one side.
Did you hear it? That black woman there on the right. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Yeah, that's straight out of the Communist Manifesto. These people are communists. These people want to see the destruction of the United States. They are at war with God, with Christians, with families. Think back to the leftist violence we saw at the BLM riots when they told us it was mostly peaceful protesting while they were standing in front of fires and riots that killed people, destroyed businesses, looted, and they told us this was mostly peaceful. Think back to those, because if you guys remember, they wanted to pretend that was about Black people. BLM was not even about Black people. It was about destroying the United States and enriching the commies who were at the top of that organization. And it was also about destroying the family. Those of you who read their manifesto, you know this. It was about destroying the family, specifically the Black family. Okay, Don Lemon. This is probably part of the defense we're going to see him mount when they bring charges against him. This is him after he led this communist mob to terrorize a Christian church. And this is him talking about how Christians are white supremacists. Here we go.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're...
You don't practice Christianity. Just like leftists are not liberals. Just like Black Lives Matter is not about black people and they don't care about black lives. You can put a lipstick on a pig. You can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't make it true. You shall know them by their fruits, Jesus said. Harassing and terrorizing Christians and calling them white supremacists, those little kids that you were happy you terrorized because you imagine that they are white supremacists.
Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy, and they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And I said I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America. And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are,
Okay. Do you see the cry bully tactics? It's not just commies that engage in this cry bully tactics when they cry out in pain while they're punching you, right? It's also sociopaths, narcissists, cluster B personality disorders who participate in the cry bully method, which is to pretend to be the victim while they are assaulting you. So he goes to this church. He is the aggressor. He interrupts the service. He interrupts their First Amendment right to gather and worship. He terrorizes, in his own words, terrorizes their children. But he's the victim, guys. He's the victim. If you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you will recognize this tactic immediately. It's sociopathic. This is a nice little bit of sunshine, this next clip. And this is, as I mentioned, the Attorney General's office is taking this seriously. Harmeet Dillon, who I love, by the way, she's a knitter. For all of the knitters in the chat, I know I have a lot of knitters and crocheters who watch. Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General, posted, "This heinous act that occurred in Minnesota yesterday is receiving the highest level of attention from the Justice Department. Attorney General Pam Bondi and I are working around the clock because no right in our Constitution is more sacred than the freedom to assemble and pray to God." This is beautiful because, as you may know, Harmeet Dillon is a Sikh. She's not a Christian. She's a Sikh, and she recognizes that we have a right to religious liberty, which is pretty funny because that's what Don Lemon says he cares about, but he doesn't care about religious liberty. He wants one religion in this country. He wants one party in this country, and he wants it to be woke, the woke religion. This is a breath of fresh air. Watch this.
The Attorney General has been on this from the moment it happened. There are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for much, much less.
This is true. And for the leftists who may be joining us, maybe you weren't aware of this, but the Biden administration went after Christians who were peacefully praying outside of abortion clinics, not storming the clinic, not blocking the clinic, not harassing the clinic, but for peacefully praying, just being there and praying. And you guys storm a church, interrupt the service, violate people's First Amendment rights, terrorize children, and you pretend to be the victim. We're used to this. It's not just the church. They've also been harassing, as I mentioned, when we were trying to get the videos to work, they've also been harassing random citizens, just accosting them, accusing them of being ICE agents. This one was shared by Cam Higbee and Alpha News. Cam says, ironically, this is exactly how the Nazis operated, schizophrenically identifying any person they deemed suspicious as the enemy, sometimes attacking or killing their own people by mistake. This was a lunch between 5 Twin Cities software engineers. This was a business lunch. I'm just going to read to you what Alpha News said about it before we watch the clip. Tech workers say they were mistaken for ICE agents accosted by an anti-ICE mob. What began as a casual lunch between 5 Twin Cities software engineers quickly escalated into a frightening encounter after the men were misidentified as undercover federal agents and protesters were alerted to the Minneapolis restaurant where they were dining. Now, you might be wondering, how do these leftist, extremist, terrorist mobs know where to go? We're going to get into that in a second because they've been planning this for a year. They have entire networks, texting groups where they've been planning this for a year. They have been pushing for violent interactions in the street. They have been hoping and praying for a Renee Good to happen, and it happened, and they're elated about it. They want more of it to happen. We're going to look at some of their instruction that they're giving cult members in a minute. But so they were alerted that these 5 suspicious white guys were having lunch. Lee said the group was eating lunch at Clancy's Deli when one of the men who belongs to an anti-ICE signal chat received a message from a group labeled SW Southwest Minneapolis Rapid Response, remember that, claiming that plainclothes ICE agents were dining at the restaurant. My friend was shocked, Lee said. He's on the anti-ICE side politically. He lives nearby. He's eaten there before, and suddenly he's seeing messages saying, we're ICE. The software engineers, all white males dressed casually in sweatshirts and jackets, were soon confronted by protesters who surrounded the restaurant, shouting insults, blowing their stupid whistles. They have these whistles, and in the signal groups for their rapid response, Antifa, terrorist groups, like they tell them how to blow the whistle. 3 short, blow it 3 times, blow it 3 times if you see ICE, blow it 3 long times if they're arresting someone. They have their whole whistle thing figured out. This guy says, one of us is pro-ICE, one is anti-ICE, the others were on the fence. But after this, I think some of them are rethinking everything, the guy said. Yeah, after being assaulted, accosted by these violent leftists, I think you might rethink everything.
This is so cool. So cool as it like. This has got to be the funniest thing I've ever seen. I know, it's like, you feel like a zoo. I've never.
Then why do you care? If you're not with us, then you're against us. So clear.
Did you hear that? If you're not with us, you're against us. That's commie. That's communist crap. In the Antifa handbook, it says if you're not part of them, if you're not Antifa, that you're a fascist. It's a false dichotomy. If you're not with us, you're against us.
Clear. So clear.
Oh my God. What? We do custom apps for a whole bunch of companies around Minnesota and the country. Filming us?
Why are you filming us?
Because you're filming us. Here. You want to Do I look like an ICE agent?
Yeah, you look like a fucking ICE agent.
Holy fucking Christ. This is what's wrong with the guys.
No, it's not. Because you have no relationship with us. Wait, so do you support? Would you support?
Support what? The way you guys are acting?
Fuck no. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The way you guys are, I don't support ICE either.
Then why do you care? Then you should say.
I'm just trying to enjoy my lunch.
If you're not with us, then you're against us. Exactly.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. The guys keep screaming, "I'm just trying to enjoy my lunch." One of the guys is like, "I'm not even for ICE," you know? And they're like, "Then why don't you join it?" And they're just screaming. Here they are assaulting a man, following a man down the street who's wearing a sweatshirt with the American flag on it. And they start assaulting this man and telling him he has to take the American flag off, take off the America jacket, and he won't get hurt. I want you to understand that violence is a feature of leftism. It's not a bug. It's not an accident. It's not for any leftist watching it and saying, "Oh, that's a few bad apples." No, it's not a bug. This is a feature. Violence is embedded in leftism.
No, don't take it off. You're not going to take it off and you won't get hurt. Take it off. Now, fuck. Take it off. He gave you a chance. There you go. I got you. Get your ass up out of here. Drop it. Drop it. I gave you a chance. Good.
So that was very clear. Take off the America jacket and you won't get hurt. Meaning, I mean, that's a threat. We're going to hurt you. This is not about ICE. Again, this is not about immigration policy. It's not about people of color. It's not about women. It's not about gay people. It's not about black people. It's never about any of the things they claim it's about. This is a war on America. It's a war on God and it's on family. Somebody in the chat asked why when I said, I think it's in response to me saying that violence is a feature of leftism, not a bug. And someone asked why. Well, a couple of things. They believe you will often hear them saying, by any means necessary. That's one of their slogans. By any means necessary. What does that mean? That means the ends justify the means. That means anything goes. By any means necessary, they want power, even by means of violence. They don't believe in, that certain behaviors are bad in and of themselves. They're not anti-violence. They're pro-violence for their ends. They think you will often hear them say they are on the right side of history, which, funny enough, that's how the Nazis justified their violence. It's like that, one of my favorite quotes I mention all the time by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, ideology is what gives evildoers the justification for doing evil. They believe they're the good guys. They believe it's okay for the good guys to do evil things, like assault people, like kill people, like go into a church and terrorize people. They think it's okay to do evil things because they're the good guys and they have good ends. They think their ends justify the means. This is a recipe for evil. It's a recipe for disaster. I don't care who you are, if you're a leftist, if you're on the right, if you're a non-believer, if you're a Christian, no matter who you are, for every single person on this earth, if you think the ends justify the means, you will find yourself doing evil very quickly. If you are a person who says by any means necessary, like a lot of the woke right guys are now saying, the guys who claim to be fascists are now saying, they are also just like the woke left saying by any means necessary. You will find yourself doing evil very quickly if you have a belief system that permits you to do evil in the service of good. That's ridiculous. You have a terrible belief system if your belief system says, yeah, sure, you can do evil things if you imagine that your reasons are good. They are governed by this belief that they can do any evil thing under the sun because they have good and just ends. Part of this is, in the leftist ideology, of course, these people out on the streets, these are like the lower rung of leftists. There's the leftist academics who write all the mumbo jumbo ideas, the ideology, who come up with the beliefs, they spread it. Then there's the academics who spread it. It filters down to K through 12 education. It filters down to street level, Facebook level. And you have all these morons who are out there pushing these ideas. They don't know where these ideas came from, but they're pushing them. They're good little puppets. They're useful idiots. Like Lenin said, they're useful idiots. And they're mouthpieces for things they don't even understand. They say by any means necessary. They don't even know where that came from. They've never read Marx. They've never read Marcuse, but they are out there pushing the ideas. Karl Popper wrote about the paradox of tolerance. And it's funny because a lot of these leftists, they don't know who Karl Popper is. They've never read him, but they've heard that quote. They're like zombies. They're copy and paste zombies. They take a quote or something they've heard and they try to use it as a weapon. These are not their own ideas. These are not their own opinions. They are received opinions. They receive their beliefs and then they copy and paste those beliefs. They repeat those beliefs like little zombies, like little robots. But so Karl Popper, sometimes they quote him because he wrote about the paradox of tolerance. And what he was saying was, how do we figure out this paradox of tolerance? Like in a liberal republic, for example, the paradox of tolerance is like if a society that's completely tolerant will fall apart, because if you tolerate everything, then that means people who are the worst of you and who are willing to do the worst, most evil things will rise to the top and oppress and dominate and control everyone else. So how do we solve for that? How do we remain tolerant while dealing with the intolerant? That's the paradox of tolerance, as best I can explain it in my own words. So Marcuse came along and said, he pushed this idea called repressive tolerance. And that's what you see the leftists engaging in. Repressive tolerance, he basically said, the way that we solve the paradox of tolerance is by repressing anything on the right, anything, even speech. You can see this all around us today. They repress. If you say that men can't become women, which is a truth, that's reality. That's just an observation of reality. If you say men can't become women, they treat it like a federal crime. Like they treat it like a hate crime. You must be censored and punished for saying something because they identified that truth as being on the right. If you try to worship in a Christian church, they view that as punishable by, like, they get to come in and terrorize you. They get to try and repress you. So Marcuse said, like, repressive tolerance is he said, by any means necessary, basically, anything on the left is allowed. That's how we solve for this, is we identify the left as good and the right as bad, and anything the left does is okay, even violence. And anything the right does, we have to repress it. Even their ideas, even their opinions, their whole way of life, we have to repress it. This is playing out all around us right now, repressive tolerance. That's what these idiots are engaged in. Although if you stopped any of them, like that guy who was yelling at the churchgoers, and you asked him about this, he wouldn't know what you're talking about. He's just a puppet. He's just enacting the role that he's been brainwashed to play. And make no mistake, these idiots are just cannon fodder. They're cannon fodder for the architects of their ideology. The people who come up with the ideology, the people at the top of this hierarchy of leftism, they view these idiots on the street as cannon fodder. They don't care about their death. They don't care about them they want them to put their life in harm's way. They were elated about Renee Good being shot and killed. And they want more of it. We're going to get into that. Let me share this. So, one of the leftist mouthpieces is the mainstream media, the corporate media. And you can see here, this is pretty incredible. Yesterday on Blue Sky, which is a communist terrorist hotbed, Rachel Maddow shared this. Can you imagine? I saw this on X. Somebody said, didn't have it on my scorecard that Rachel Maddow would share this communist terrorist manifesto. She shared this on Blue Sky yesterday. This is from a group called Crime Think, with a C, Crime Think. Crime Think they're a communist terrorist group with affiliations to Antifa. They have a whole website on how to create more of this violence in the streets. They are, remember rapid response? They created all of these rapid response groups that are presumably anti-ICE, but that's not really what it's about. And they are encouraging all of these useful idiots like Renee Good to go out and to get into these violent encounters with law enforcement. They want to see more of this. Rachel Maddow shared their pamphlet. Unbelievable. This is her sharing it. We're going to look at what's in their pamphlet, because in it, they actually brag that Renee Good was one of them. I want you to understand, they've been planning this for over a year. Like, they have been organizing and planning this. They decided that immigration and ICE, that was going to be their new mask, their new Trojan horse. During the BLM riots, it was black people. Now it's immigration. This is their new Trojan horse. You might be wondering why you didn't see any of these leftists doing any of this crazy crap when Obama he used ICE to deport over 3 million people. Where were these violent encounters from the left? These things they call peaceful protests, this violence in the streets. Where was this then? It's funny, right? The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. They don't give a shit about immigration, other than using open borders to destroy this country, and using it to galvanize these morons and get them in the streets to provoke more violent encounters. Before we look at this, let me just remind you of something. This made me think of 2017. So you may not remember, but during Trump's first inauguration in 2017, they organized, I think it was called J11, whatever day it was that his inauguration was happening. I should have looked this up beforehand, but it's off the top of my head. They organized, somebody remind me in the chat what they called it. But it was before they did all this propaganda about January 6th. So I can't even remember the date, but they had these protests, these riots that they had planned. All these same crazy communist groups and affiliations had planned these leftist groups around Trump's first inauguration. And they said on their websites, in their training materials, in their preparation for the day, they said they wanted to create as much violence and chaos as possible. And a lot of you guys remember they did create violence and chaos. They set a limousine on fire. Remember that? They attacked a police horse. Remember that? We're throwing bottles and stuff at police horses. They rioted, they looted, they destroyed businesses. They said they wanted to create as much violence in the streets as possible on Inauguration Day so that Trump would be forced to close down the inauguration and to bring out all the security. And they said they wanted to do this so Trump would look like the jackbooted thugs that they are. So that they would have the appearance of being, fascists. Like they provoke this stuff on purpose. They did it in January 2017. They want to create their false reality. They have this false reality they've been pushing for years now. We are all familiar with it, where they call all conservatives Nazis. They call Trump a Nazi. They call all conservatives fascists. It's insane. And they want to bring it about. That's why I often say these young men who are getting involved in this splinter group on the right currently, this woke right splinter group, some of these young men are now calling themselves fascists. They're saying they're not conservatives. Young men who are following these frauds like Joel Webbin, you're playing right into the left's hands. That's what they want you to do. They want to bring about their false reality. So they create these encounters, these violent encounters on purpose. They want Trump. Do you understand? They want him to use the Insurrection Act and to send federal troops into Minnesota. They would love it. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't. I think it's time. I think it's time to do so. But just know they wanted it. Any leftist that complains about and is like, I can't believe you're sending in federal troops. That's what you wanted. That's what you ordered. And then you got your meal and said, I don't like this meal. That's the meal you ordered. It's all by design. So this is Crime Think. This is what Rachel Maddow shared, one of the mouthpieces for the revolution. And you can see here, I'm going to read some of this to you. They put this out on January 15th. Rapid Response Networks in the Twin Cities, a guide to an updated model. We're going to read through some of this leftist gobbledygook and what they are encouraging in their own words. They don't hide any of this. They've been training people. They've been training these leftists to do this for a year. The Rapid Response Networks, people organized to defend their communities against federal agents seeking to kidnap, brutalize, and terrorize them. This is all a lie. Kidnap, brutalize, and terrorize them. This is all a lie. Have undergone a whirlwind evolution to keep up with the ever-shifting immigration and customs enforcement tactics. Over the past month and a half of occupation, volunteers in the Twin Cities have continuously updated their rapid response model, arriving at a dynamic and resilient system. In the following report, we explore the details of that system for the benefit of others around the country who may soon be facing similar pressures. On December 2nd, 100 immigration and customs enforcement agents were deployed to the Twin Cities as part of a multi-city surge in detentions and deportations. Since then, the Twin Cities have become cities under siege, unrecognizable to many residents. The number of federal officers occupying them has jumped 30-fold to nearly 3,000. Maybe that's because Minnesota has so many illegal immigrants. And they've been defrauding the American people to the tune of billions of dollars. For comparison, the Minneapolis Police Department has roughly 600 officers, they say. the murder of Renee Good, by the way, it's not murder under the law. It was a self-defense killing. They say, look what they call her. The murder of Renee Good, a member of the Rapid Response Network. So they claim ownership of her. She was one of their operatives. She was a member of this commie, crime think, Antifa Rapid Response Network. The murder of Renee Good, a member of the Rapid Response Network, on January 7th, followed a week later by the shooting of another person on January 14th, has caught the attention of the nation. Nonetheless, most people assume that what is happening in the Twin Cities looks like ICE enforcement and resistance in other parts of the country. On the contrary, the scale of detentions, deportations, and clashes is without precedent. And then they have some stuff on how you can learn about what they've been doing in other cities like Chicago and Los Angeles. Then they have this section called The Surge. During the months preceding the surge of ICE agents in the Twin Cities, local people and organizations created a relatively centralized rapid response network in which observers would submit sightings with varying levels of substantiation to an admin on a mass text system. A lot of these terrorist cells, they're using Signal and other mass texting apps. As soon as admins could intake, reformat, and verify the reports, they would blast it out on the system, and people nearby would converge. That's why you're seeing these mobs of these terrorists accosting and assaulting these normal these citizens who are having lunch. There's another one I didn't show you where it's a guy at an SUV and they just start accosting, like, prove that you're not ICE to us. This seemed to work for turning people out to major operations like a raid on an apartment complex, but it began to falter as ICE experimented with faster, more lightweight operations. Then around December 1st, the raids essentially stopped, and the influx of agents began a campaign of door knocks and snatch and grabs. The previous model was immediately rendered obsolete because the window of time to intervene shrank to a matter of minutes. Community members who were wanting something more confrontational wanting violence, more confrontational than the existing legal observer style bottleneck system, started to build out a parallel system to fill the gaps and move more nimbly. This new system began with a large-scale chat for Southside reports where anyone can drop an alert of any kind. As ICE operations accelerated in volume and speed, the open, more nimble chat grew in members and became a space that attracted those who wanted to do more than simply record ICE operations. People integrated the existing whistle program to alert targeted people about ICE's arrival and to harass the agents. Then increasingly got in the way, blocking ICE vehicles with personal cars, using their bodies to block agents, using crowds and car patrols to intimidate small groups of agents into withdrawing. I just want to read that again. This is illegal. This is illegal what they're doing. And the number of leftists in my comments on Facebook in particular who are clueless about the law, who keep telling me ICE has no right to arrest people. Yes, they do. They have a right to arrest you if you are obstructing their arrests of other people, if you are interfering and impeding law enforcement. They have a right to arrest you. They were trying to arrest Renee Good. She disobeyed a direct order. These guys are bragging here on the site about doing this. Right out in the open. This is what they're doing. This is what Renee Good, who they claim is one of their own, was doing. I'm going to say it again. Their job is to harass the agents, increasingly get in the way, block ICE vehicles with personal cars, and use their bodies to block agents, and use crowds and car patrols to intimidate small groups of agents. This is terrorism. It's illegal. And you should teach your children that if they are participating in this, at the very least, they could be arrested and charged. But they might be putting their life on the line. if they escalate like Renee Good did and try to run over someone. As the chats got larger, more chats were made to break up the city into smaller and smaller segments, some of which have gotten as small as a 4-block radius. This allows people to see reports directly relevant to them and to respond to nearby sightings quickly and effectively. Here they show some of their graffiti. Again, these guys are destroyers. Leftists are destroyers. It says FUCK ICE, and it says Renee. I'm of the opinion that we need to change the laws to have harsher penalties for graffiti, for defacing private and public property. I've felt this for a long time. Like, you have to create disincentives. If you were arrested and thrown in jail for 10 years for graffiti, you would see a dramatic decrease in graffiti, of vandalizing. Counter surveillance. This is their next section. These networks have benefited greatly from a program of counter surveillance at the local ICE headquarters. The Whipple, a federal building in Fort Snelling on the outskirts of Minneapolis and St. Paul, has long been a regional headquarters for ICE. Having previously housed other federal agencies, the complex is located across the street from a National Guard base, down the road from a military base, and next to the preserved fort itself. The fort sits on the sacred site of the convergence of two rivers. It was one of the earliest sites of colonization in the area. At one time, it was a concentration camp holding native Dakota people. The Whipple includes offices, processing, and detention facilities in the basement and a sprawling parking lot. Community members identified this complex as a key location over the summer. Again, I'm telling you, these leftists have been openly planning for this violence, this terrorism that we see in the streets. They've been planning it for over a year. They've been trying to bring about a Renee Good. They got one. They're excited about it, and they want more. They identified this complex as a key location over the summer. They have maintained a presence there since August. The building is hemmed by 2 state highways, 2 rivers, and an airport. With only 2 vehicle exits, tracking ICE vehicles entering and exiting the facility is easy. Whipple Watch, as it's called, has involved protesters and observers stationed there for months, gathering intel on the convoys heading into the city or taking detainees to the airport, identifying patterns of operations such as a surge days and times, and carefully cataloging the plates of vehicles going in and out. That's why the ICE agents are changing their license plates, because they've got these people harassing them, doxing them, tracking down their family members, making death threats to their wives, their kids. This database of plates gets near constant daily use, enabling rapid responders on foot and in cars to confirm known ICE vehicles in real time. ICE has begun swapping out cars and plates throughout the day to undermine this counter surveillance, but the volume of submissions pouring in is only growing. We are reading out in the open this terrorist plan to impede and obstruct law enforcement and to terrorize Americans, to interfere with law enforcement. They didn't do this during Obama when he used ICE to deport 3 million people. They're only doing it now. It's pretty incredible. One other thing I'll say, I have lots of libertarian friends who've told me, they don't like that ICE is masking up. I agree. I don't like that they're masking up either. I think it's a bad decision. However, it's what the left wanted. I understand why they're doing it. I don't agree with it, but I understand why they're doing it. They're hiding their identity because they're being doxxed by these psychopaths who are stalking and harassing them and trying to force violent confrontations. By their own words, trying to force violent confrontations. They're being stalked by these psychopaths. They're being doxxed, and their families' lives are in danger. So that's why they're masking. I don't agree with it, but it's what the left wants. Again, think back to January of 2017. They want to force the false reality they claim exists. They want to make them look scary. They want to make them look like jackbooted thugs. These are husbands and fathers, these ICE agents, who have families, who are under threat from these terrorists. Whipple Watch describes their goals as threefold: to provide an early warning system about surges and convoys to the local rapid response networks, to gather data with a special focus on the license plate database, and to ensure that ICE knows they are being watched, even on their own turf. Whipple Watch has undeniably succeeded in achieving these particular goals, even in the face of a hostile militarized force. That's what they want it to look like, right? That's what they're trying to force. How it works. Each chunk of the city, Southside, Uptown, Whittier, and so on, has rotating shifts of dispatchers who admin a running signal call. That's where these terrorists are organizing. Throughout operational hours, sometimes multiple dispatchers overlap to split up the extra tasks of watching the chat, relaying reports to other channels, and checking the license plates. Dispatch also helps people evenly distribute patrols across an area, takes notes, and assists people through confrontations. All patrollers in cars and on foot and stay on the call throughout their patrol. There is a constant flow of information, allowing other cars to decide whether they are well positioned to join in, take over tailing the car, or continue searching for additional vehicles. Since the structure has divided up into more granular neighborhood-based zones, people in many areas have also developed a daily chat system with chats that are remade and deleted each day to keep them clear and not maxed out of participants, as the maximum number of members of a signal group is capped at 1,000. Various areas of the cities and the suburbs have replicated the basic structure of the system, but with slightly different models, chat structures, vetting systems, and data collection. A data collection team collects anonymized data submitted from Whipple Watch and many of the local rapid response chats, aggregating them into consumable formats, such as interactive maps of hotspots. This team also admins the searchable database of license plates sorted by confirmed ICE, suspected ICE, confirmed not ICE, and other categories. Then they have a little pull-out quote here of someone saying, "My parents are in a cafe and they hear whistles and car honking. Every single person in the cafe stands up and rushes out the door." Because they're all revolutionaries, right? Additional place-based chats have emerged around school systems, faith communities, mutual aid, grocery deliveries, and the like. Another development was the Neighborhood Network's intake chat, which acts as a clearinghouse for incoming volunteers. New people from anywhere in the city or anywhere in the state of Minnesota can be added and oriented to a list of chat options, and admins will add them to the open chats or connect them to the vetting and training processes for the more closed chats. Most recently, dispatchers have experimented with a relay system in which patrollers who tail vehicles to the edge of their zone can communicate through dispatch across chats to pass off that vehicle to a patroller in the next region. This allows the patrollers to remain in tighter and tighter routes, which they can swiftly come to know intimately well in order to navigate them better than any ICE agent. Finally, Spanish language relayers copy ICE alerts from dispatch calls and local chats, translate them, and then send to large Spanish language signal and WhatsApp networks. We're reading about terrorist networks. That's what we're reading about. Rachel Maddow shared this. She thought it was a good thing. She wants more people to join. What might look from the outside like an overformalization of chats for different kinds of information, or else like too little structure in the completely open calls that all patrollers for a given zone join in simultaneously, coheres into a highly effective, self-organized, and well-maintained communications ecosystem. Information moves reliably across scale through the chats and dispatchers, and patrollers quickly adopt cultural practices that enable them to avoid talking over each other and to relay information in a clear and organized manner. Volunteers self-select into shifts with varying lengths, deciding what routes to run based on their knowledge, skill, interests, and availability. All of this is what Renee Good thought was more important than taking care of her child. She thought all of this terrorist crap was more important than being a mother. Here's a picture of them walking past some of their graffiti that they're proud of. F-U-C-K, ICE. Kill ICE. The system is constantly shifting, highly adaptable, somewhat difficult to explain to outsiders, and surprisingly easy to integrate into once you get over the shock of receiving 1,500 new messages per day. The response from ICE has been measurable. They have changed their tactics. They have been chased out of neighborhoods during operations. They're proud of this. They're proud of doing this to law enforcement. They're proud of their terrorism. They have been caught discussing how scared they are and the fact that many of them have left. They're bragging about this, about terrorizing these men, the law enforcement agents. They've also continuously and aggressively escalated their violence against observers. Patrollers who follow ICE too closely or for too long will often be boxed in so that between 4 and 10 officers can surround the car, beat on the doors, yell, film, and threaten them with arrest. Patrollers who have blocked ICE with their cars have been rammed, have had their windows busted in, and have been pulled out to be detained or arrested, which you should be. ICE officers are allowed to arrest you if you are obstructing, impeding law enforcement. People have been put into ICE vehicles driven miles away, then thrown out of the car. Really? Agents have taken people out of their cars, then driven their cars several blocks away and left them running in the street. Recently, agents have been pepper spraying cars, sometimes trying to fill the interior of the vehicle in order to force people out, other times just using the chemical weapon to brightly mark the cars for further harassment and targeting. Oh, okay. So you guys are harassing and targeting, but you're going to put that on them. Darvo. This is more Darvo. Recently, ICE agents threw a tear gas canister out of their vehicle while driving on the highway to try to deter someone from following them. Agents have not only followed patrollers home, but have identified the driver of vehicle following them and led drivers to their own home address as a form of intimidation. Again, these guys are bragging about intimidating law enforcement and then spinning some tales, which I don't even believe, and claiming this is the crybully thing, that they're being intimidated. They are the aggressors here. These terrorists are the aggressors here. They brag that they're intimidating the officers, that they're obstructing law enforcement. Patrollers share with us that agents have beaten them, have they? Have tried to run them over, have driven directly at their vehicles head on, held them at gunpoint, shot out their tires, and dragged them from moving vehicles. While the murder of Renee Good shocked the nation, it came as no surprise to those who have been on the streets of the Twin Cities over the past 6 weeks. Here's more of their graffiti. F-U-C-K, ICE. They're proud of it. So here they have this next section is called the Twin Cities model. Don't copy it, learn from it. What sets apart the Twin Cities Rapid Response Network and its surrounding ecosystem is not strict adherence to a particular structure. It is a clear analysis of their conditions, a willingness to adapt, and the courage to fight back as the violence increases. You're increasing the violence. The people of the Twin Cities have paid close attention to their opponents. They know how ICE agents deploy, where ICE agents stage, and how ICE agents dress, drive, and react. They live in a relatively small and densely populated urban area, walkable in many parts, gridded for easy navigation by car. People are connected to their neighbors, building on the connections that remain from past movements and uprisings, right? Like the BLM riots. The mayor of Minneapolis is trying to maintain the liberal veneer of his administration. Police are unlikely to deploy as reinforcements for ICE operations. These are concrete and observable conditions that have directly defined the design and implementation of resistance here. So they are bragging that Fry, that cuck mayor of Minneapolis, will not support the law enforcement officers. Those embedded in the model are committed to agility and adaptation. As conditions change, the city has neighborhoods with distinct demographics and characteristics, so the expansion of the model was built to vary from one neighborhood to the next. After the raids stopped, ICE deployed almost exclusively from one main location with limited entrances and exits, so organizers invested heavily in counter surveillance there. When ICE operations switched to fast, random street abductions and door knocks, the only possible way to predict where they would act was to identify ICE vehicles as they approached, so people shifted focus to identifying ICE vehicles on the roads and staying on them. ICE needed to rely on surprise and ambush tactics, so responders employed noise, whistles, and honking to quickly give warning across distance. ICE officers don't like to operate when outnumbered and don't like to be surrounded, so patrollers amass cars and form impromptu traffic jam blockades. That's obstruction. They should all be arrested. Few of these conditions could have been predicted in advance. The only way to adapt effectively was to nurture an open, invitational culture that encourages taking initiative and welcomes self-organization. We cannot overstate the importance of the courage pouring into the streets of the Twin Cities. It can be easy to write off rapid response networks because we know that simply filming and observing this accelerating campaign of violence is not enough. Many networks across the country have demobilized themselves before they even got going by trying to rigidly control what their participants could do, despite widespread willingness to escalate. The trainers, pay close attention here. This is where they are scolding the groups in their network who try and keep people from being violent, who try and keep the leftists in these rapid response groups from being violent. They are scolding them because they believe in violence. They're basically saying you should allow them to escalate and be violent. I'm going to read this to you again. Many networks across the country have demobilized themselves before they even got going by trying to rigidly control what their participants could do, despite widespread willingness to escalate. Trainers often preach non-interference. Some rapid responders police each other in the streets for throwing projectiles or even for yelling. In some cases, this comes from a self-preservationist fear about repression targeting the NGOs involved in rapid response. In other cases, it shows up as a well-meaning but misguided focus on safety that is simply paternalism, deciding what risk levels are appropriate for other people. This whole section here is saying you're being paternalistic. It's scolding and shaming their fellow leftists if they try to stop violence. They call it they're saying don't self-police us. Don't try and discourage violence and escalation. Let people be violent. Otherwise, you're being paternalistic. It's wild, isn't it? Such overcautiousness can be found in the Twin Cities too. There are trainers and dispatchers who by default tell people to disengage rather than supporting them in whatever they feel called to do. Do you hear that? Whatever they feel called to do. Violence, they want to win by any means necessary. And they're saying, if you're one of these trainers who's discouraging people and telling them to disengage, you're in the wrong. You should let them engage. You should let them be violent. You should let them use any means necessary, whatever they feel called to do. This is leftism. There are bystanders who get in the way of those who are taking action rather than getting in the way of ICE. This is all a scold. But the fight here is defined by those who push the envelope, those like Renee Good. They want more of it. People use their cars and bodies to block agents and de-arrest targeted people. De-arrest? You mean free people who've been arrested through force, criminal act? They throw snowballs and rocks. They kick back canisters of tear gas. They cover cars and agents with paint, and they break the windows of the ICE agents' cars. They don't stop screaming in the faces of abductors when they are hit, pepper sprayed, or shot with rubber bullets. They are witnessing the mass abductions, undisclosed disappearances, and record-breaking depths of this new emboldened ICE, and they are willing to take real risks to stop them. They are experiencing the retaliative violence, and they are more stronger and braver in spite of it. This is them celebrating the ones who are willing to do violence. Be ready for the incoming surge of ICE enforcement in your city. And mark these words, it is coming. It means studying the terrain you are fighting on and getting creative. What works best for your city likely won't look exactly like these daily observation units at their headquarters and mobile patrols of rapid responders. It will require a thorough analysis of how best to use your strengths and exploit their weaknesses in your specific circumstances. Start studying, planning, connecting, and experimenting now. We look to the Twin Cities not to replicate the details, but for their clarity of analysis, swift and decisive action, agile experimentation, deep care for each other, and infectious courage. And then they're very proud of more of their graffiti. F-U-C-K ice, F-U-C-K ice, F-U-C-K ice, shoot ice. So this little handbook on how to foment more leftist terrorist violence in your city was shared by mainstream news personality Rachel Maddow, who thinks it's a great thing. They brought this about on purpose. Like, I hope that's like the one thing you take away from this episode is two things. This is a war on America, God, and family. It's never about what they say it's about. And number two, they planned for what happened to Renee Good. They wanted it, and they want more of it. It's all by design. Yes, Trainer. It's all by design. This is along those lines. This is a post from Andy No. And in it, you can see Jailani Hussein, who is the Somali leader of another leftist terrorist group in Minnesota, Keri, Minnesota. It's an Islamist leftist terrorist group. It uses Islamism as a cover. But this is another commie group. And this is video of him, Jailani Hussein, telling his far left crowd that the left didn't accomplish what they needed to accomplish after George Floyd's death. And then he's all excited and he says, we have a second chance. He's talking about Renee Good. We have a second chance. I'm telling you, they were elated that she was shot. Women like Renee Good are cannon fodder for these people. They do not care about them. It's just so, like with every other communist revolution, they do not care about the useful idiots who put their lives on the line for this crap, who don't even realize what they're doing, what they're puppets of. He says, we have a second chance. And then he says, what? By any means necessary.
Thank you, son, brother. How you doing? I want to just thank all of you for being here today. Thank you for showing up. You did the most important thing. You are here right now. Say her name. Renee! Say her name. Say her name. Hey, folks, we are at a crosspoint. We did not do what was necessary to end police brutality after the murder of George Floyd. We're getting a second chance to do it right after the murder of Nicole Good. We have a second chance to do this right. Minneapolis, we are on the clock one more time again. We are here at another moment to say to this nation that a human life is not disposable. Nicole was peaceful. Nicole told the truth. Nicole stood for our neighbors. Nicole is all of us. If you are Renee, I'm Renee. If all of us understand in this moment that we did the same thing that Renee did. We stood for our neighbors. We pulled our phones out and we recorded the abuses that were happening. And in fact, it is because we are standing up for each other that we are standing for our neighbors, that we are holding our phones. They are not happy with the idea that all we want is accountability, that all we want is justice for people, that we will not let them take our neighbors in vain. By any means necessary.
Did you hear that? The communism there at the end, by any means necessary. It's all this is it's in everything they do. And they always lie. We know this. I mean, they say in this video she was peaceful. She was not peaceful. She obstructed law enforcement officers, which is a crime. She disobeyed a direct order when they were trying to detain her. And then she accelerated her vehicle towards a person. It doesn't matter what her intent was. You and I or anyone can imagine and fantasize about what she was trying to do all day long. It doesn't matter a hill of beans. She accelerated her vehicle towards someone. He had every right to use self-defense. She was not a peaceful person. When you are trying to obstruct, harass, intimidate law enforcement and interfere, those are crimes. These people are liars. There's something else I want to point out. In that video, and in the first video we watched in the church, they do that thing that the commies do. And they've done this during all of the BLM riots. And they did it in this video, and they did it in the church video. And that's where they say her name. And then they all repeat like a mantra of this person's name. And they all repeat these slogans. My pastor pointed this out to me a while ago. This is liturgy. This is sacred, repetitive liturgy for them. They are in a religion. These are cultists. Their religion is woke. They have their own liturgy, things they all recite in unison. It's like an incantation that they're doing. Say her name, Renee Good. Say her name, Renee Good. It's like during the BLM riots, they were doing all the say their name incantations. They were also doing these, the white people would recite these apologies. Remember those cringe apologies where the crowds would recite these apologies for their white privilege, the sin of white privilege. Wokeism is upside down Christianity. It is Christianity perverted. They try to make criminals of victims, and they try to make victims of criminals. They try to reward the wicked, reward the evil, and punish the good. It's an inversion of morality. They have a moral system. It's upside down. It's like the verse in Isaiah. They put good for evil. They put evil for good. They put sour for sweet. They turn everything upside down. Criminals, whether it's illegal immigrants or whether it's criminals like Renee Good, who try to obstruct law enforcement and run somebody over, it doesn't matter. Criminals, they make them into martyrs and victims. Victims, like the women and children who've been raped, killed, tortured by illegal immigrants, they couldn't care a lick. They don't care about victims. They turn victims into criminals. These ICE agents who are being intimidated, who are being doxxed, whose families are threatened with death threats, who their safety's threatened, they celebrate that these innocent men are scared and are quitting. They turn criminals into victims and victims into criminals. I'm going to show you this. This is from Walter Kim. He shared a post by CJ Pearson on X. And he says, they canceled school in favor of attending political protests in Minnesota because public school kids didn't fall far enough behind when they canceled school for COVID, okay? Some learn to read and think anyway, and they can't have that. Not in a state where reflexively taking orders from fraudulent hack leaders is how you get ahead. Though not very far ahead or for long. And so CJ Pearson shared this footage. He says Tim Walz welcomed Minnesota high school students for a walkout. They're telling them to leave class. They told the students, they closed the schools, encouraged the students to walk out in protest of ICE, supposedly, right? At the state capitol building. It quickly devolved into them fighting each other. These are the students all pummeling one another. I'm going to keep it playing in the background. This is your city on leftism. This is what they want for the rest of the country. This is what they want for your city, for your town. The terrorism they enacted on that church in Minnesota yesterday, they want to bring that to your town. They want to bring that to your church. We read their terrorist pamphlet of rapid response and how to recreate this in your town. They want to bring it to you. Make no mistake, this war of leftism is a war on America, God, family. They want to remake, they want to destroy everything and recreate their communist utopia. These are destroyers. They're not creators. This is your brain. This is your city on leftism. This is what it is. This is not a bug. This is a feature of leftism. This is what it is. Illiterate, uneducated youths punching each other, chaos, violence, stupid slogans on their signs, ICE out. This is what they want for America. Lily says, and these kids have no idea it's happening. No, they don't. They have no idea. These kids they've been failed by their parents, by their communities, by their schools, by their country. This is your brain on woke, says Davina. Yes. That's where we're at. This video, this is them accosting some random guy. Councilwoman Vicky Palladino says, making a random guy in a Suburban explain himself and open his trunk to verify he's not an ICE agent, then intimidating him into groveling about how much he respects what they're doing as they stand there and lecture him on what kind of car he needs to rent not to be targeted by their mob again. These are actual brown shirt tactics. You guys are the Nazis, leftists. You are the brown shirts. This is what you do. This is how you behave. She says, this is what real fascism looks like. If this guy hadn't been this conciliatory and cooperative, as was his absolute right, he doesn't owe these morons any explanation. You can bet they would have escalated into a physical altercation and likely destroyed his car. These are the quote unquote good guys, according to Democrats. This was a video that Andy No shared. Andy No has some of the best footage and commentary on this communist war, these acts of leftist terrorism that are currently unfolding around us. He has some of the best coverage.
Here you go. Yeah, like I said, I don't have to do this. I'm happy to do this. That's all. We just got to stop this.
So he's got a lot of camera equipment. I think we can say this isn't right.
Yeah, I'm not. I tried to tell the first lady that nobody believes me. That's all I can do is tell you. I already shot. Listen, first of all, I don't have to do any of that, but I'm kind. I respect what you are doing. Yeah, no. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I just don't understand the job and how to do it.
Were you here yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes, he was here yesterday.
Thank
I can testify that. I didn't recognize him.
No, I appreciate your help. Thank you.
I'm not here to help you.
No, I
think the
understand.
fact that you're in a vehicle like this at this
I
time
get it. But with all due respect to everybody, I get a couple way drive.
Well, you can. You go rent something else.
Did you hear that? She says she's not here to help him, even though she recognized him and realizes he works in this area. And she says, but you have to understand that the vehicle you're driving. He's like, well, I can't do anything about that. And she goes, yes, you can. You can go rent or buy a different vehicle, or we're going to keep terrorizing you.
Are you going to pay for it? That's not how it works.
This is my business.
I know. This is not how it works. So anyhow, I hope you guys understand. Not here to
He
cause
was
any
here
problem.
with a video camera yesterday. I did see another vehicle with them, but I did see him with a camera.
Press badge when folks were talking on the side?
No. I told them I was with media.
Okay.
And when people get irate with me, I have no choice to just roll out the window.
I think you gotta understand that people were kidnapped.
It wasn't yesterday, because that's what we did the story on.
Sorry.
Let's just wrap this up, okay?
It would be helpful. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
if
fine.
you guys the first time.
Let's just wrap this up, please. You know.
Unbelievable. They're basically, this is your own fault that we're accosting you because of the vehicle you drive, and you have to understand, right? These are the good guys, right? I want to show you this graph because this is pretty interesting. This came out in The Guardian, and it's funny. The last episode I did, if you haven't seen it, on Friday, I did a live episode with my friend Mike Harlow from Walk Away, and we were talking about what's wrong with leftist white women. Why are leftist white women so crazy? And it's a topic that a lot of people seem to be covering lately because everyone's observing that it's leftist white women who are the useful idiots at the forefront of this. They are the cannon fodder. They are the morons out in the street. They are the idiots on Facebook talking about, I saw one of them today. She's like, silence is unacceptable. You have to speak out against the horrible things happening in this country. And then she lists all the lies, right, about what's happening to immigrants. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty upset about it too. Here's my thoughts, but that's because that's not what they mean. They mean you have to say what they want you to say. You have to have their communist opinion. Anyway, lots of people have been talking about, like, why is it leftist white women who have the highest rates of depression, anxiety, SSRI, antidepressant use? They have skyrocketing rates of antidepressant use. They have the lowest reported satisfaction with life over any other demographic. Leftist white women are the least happy, most miserable people. Over 56% of them are receiving mental health treatment. Somebody said to me yesterday, like, I don't know if I'm more concerned that over 50% of leftist white women are being treated for mental health disorders, or if I'm more upset that the other half of them are not being treated. Like, which made me laugh. It's dark humor, right? But it's true. They're crazy. And I do feel empathy for them. Not always. I've had my anger. Yesterday or Saturday, I was not feeling a lot of empathy for these women. Prayed about it Saturday night. Had a great experience at church yesterday. It was just beautiful time spent with my church family. We had 2 baptisms yesterday. It was amazing. And that hatred dissipated. And I do feel empathy for them because they are being used. They are being manipulated. I'm so angry. I'm so angry at them for being foot soldiers for this. But I feel sorry for them. How could you not? Look at this graph. So this just came out in The Guardian. And this Twitter user says, political scientists and data quaints have been telling us that this for half a decade. Women have moved radically leftward, at a scale and speed with no modern precedent, while men have, on the whole, remained largely steady and unchanged. And you can see it across the data. Now, this, of course, dispels one of the other leftist lies. They're always talking about how men lately, they're always talking about how men are becoming radical right extremists. Men are becoming more extreme and more right wing. But actually, no, If you look at self-reported studies, this was from a Gallup poll done by The Guardian from 1999 to 2023. And you can see just in these 24 years that the line there on top, the purple line, that's women. The line here on the bottom, that's men. And these are young people, 18 to 29. And you can see that in the past 24 years, men have remained more, see, above the line there is liberal. How liberal are you? How leftist are you? And below is conservative. How conservative are you? You can see men have skewed slightly more conservative for the past 24 years. And it's remained relatively stable within like 10 percentage points. They're like plus 10 conservative. Pretty much the whole time. It goes back and forth a little bit, but it stays pretty steady. At the beginning of this 24-year period, you can see there was only a 12-point gap between young men and young women. Okay, now there's a 23-point gap. And if you look at the women in those past 24 years, they fluctuated a little here at the beginning. They started off slightly more liberal. And now in 2023, they're like plus 20 percentage points leftist. It's a 23-point gap. It's women who are becoming more extreme. We have not seen a demographic group with such an extreme change in orientation in such a short amount of time in modern history. So the question that responsible media or commentators, cultural commentators should be asking right now and trying to answer is, what is happening to white leftist women? Why are they so unhappy? Why are they so miserable? Why are they determined to destroy the United States, to destroy the family, to attack God? What's happened to them? Why are they so sad? Why are they so angry? Why are they, more than any other demographic group, the easiest useful tools, the easiest useful idiots to manipulate, to turn into puppets for terrorism and communism? Like, why is it this demographic group? And I think Mike Harlow and I attempted to answer that question in our episode from Friday. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's called Why Are Leftist Women So Crazy? Something to that effect. I'm going to thank a few people. Thank you for hanging with me for this episode. I know it was a heavy one. I wanted to cover. I didn't even get into Yuri Bezmenov, but if you have time, you should go and look up, especially if you're a leftist who's joining us and hate watching or what have you. I've shown Yuri Bezmenov on this channel many times. You probably don't know who he is. I know that you guys, I'm not saying this to insult. I'm saying it because it's a statement of fact. You don't know a lot about history. You don't know a lot about what's going on. You don't understand a lot of our references. You don't read. You don't know a lot of the things we talk about because you were in a cult, the same cult I used to be in, that makes you stupid and blind, and it makes you into a puppet. So I'm sure you've never heard of Yuri Bezmenov. Go and look him up on YouTube. I think it's about an hour long. There's a series of interviews. He was a KGB agent who defected in the 80s. And there were a series of interviews he did with American media at the time where he talked about ideological subversion and how to take down a superpower like the United States from the inside out. How you don't need a hot war. You can do it with a Cold War. And you can do it by infiltrating the America's institutions, indoctrinating children to hate their own country, and turning them into activists through academia and the media. So go and watch him, especially if you think you're not going to agree with what he's saying or you're going to be mad about it or whatever. You should at least know what he had to say, especially since most of you think that you're anti-Russia. I don't know if you really are. But he's talking about Russia's tactics of ideological subversion here in the United States. You should know what he had to say. He laid out a roadmap for everything we're seeing happening now. So I'm going to thank a few people. Superbased. What's up, Superbased? Superbased is a Deprogrammed membership fairy and always helps out the channel. I appreciate the support. Superbase gifted 10 memberships. So if you got one of those, you can thank Superbase. Superbase also says prayers to the Christians in Minnesota. Yes. Prayers to the Christians in Minnesota and all over the country. Pushup says, did you meet any Weather Underground types while on the left? Well, I didn't meet any who called themselves Weather Underground, no, but I met plenty of radicals and extremists. I actually went down with, I was such a clueless leftist. You know, I worked in entertainment. I worked in comedy. I produced leftist comedy specials and television shows. I thought I was helping the revolution, right? You know, I thought I was ending racism and sexism through comedy. And I worked with a lot of these extremist leftist groups, and we went down with one called Culture Strike. We went down to the border and we audited a immigration deportation during the Obama administration. I knew lots of these radicals, and some of them are still Facebook friends with me, and they've only gotten crazier since then. Tina Guzman. Hey, Tina, thanks for becoming a member. AskBFUCK for $4.99 says CNN worked hard to make Don Lemon look sane. Without his handlers, his true colors show. Yeah, he's a bit like Candace Owens, right? Without handlers, their insanity comes through. Like Keith Olbermann is another one of those. Without handlers, you can see what a lunatic he is. Thank you for that. John Thomas for $10. Thanks for the super chat. Says, why is the pastor calming them down? Rise up and defend yourselves. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Paul instructed us to obey the civil authorities, but self-defense is allowed. Well, I would issue caution about this. First of all, your church should be armed. You should have a security team at church. Every responsible pastor, deacon, like that's something you should be thinking about, because part of this war is a war on Christians and a war on churches. We've seen it also with the acts of terrorism and murder from some of these tranny leftist kids that they're programming, who come into churches and shoot them up. Like, you should have a security team, but I don't think it's wise to use force when it's not necessary. So I think it was actually a smart move for him to keep everyone calm, and less physically assaulted, to keep everyone calm and to rely on the video documentation to prove what happened that day, which was that they were terrorized, so that we can see federal prosecution using the law for justice in this case. If one of these leftist agitators had assaulted any of them, then yes, you have a right to self-defense. Kadeem, I just wanted to highlight this earlier, says the rainbow belongs to God. That's when that crazy leftist terrorist was screaming at the churchgoers for having a rainbow umbrella. The rainbow does belong to God, and it's beautiful. My husband and I are doing Bible in a year, which I know a lot of you are doing. We are currently towards the end of Genesis now. And it was funny, like reading back over that part about the rainbow and how God sent the rainbow as a sign of his covenant with man to never again flood the earth with water. It's a promise. The rainbow is a promise between God and human beings. And I think it's so beautiful because it's like when you're going through hard times or you're living through chaos, like we are living, like a lot of humans throughout history, we are living through our own kind of chaos right now. Our chaos happens to be communist, terroristic chaos. When you're living through chaos, it's sort of like when you go through a storm and then God gives you a rainbow, this beautiful promise at the end of it. And whenever you're going through challenging times or a chaotic time, or if you're going through some personal trial, whether it's like a medical trial or financial trial or some interpersonal issue, like I always try and remind myself when I'm going through something like that about like the silver linings or the rainbow at the end, or what is it that what opportunities do I have to learn during this trial? It's not always easy. I'm not saying it's easy at all. Human nature is like, why me? Like our Adam natures. Why me? Why have you given me your hardest trials, Lord? You know that meme? Why have you given me your hardest trials? But if you can just remind yourself Like Hebrews 12 is a chapter that my pastor had me memorize, and it's all about being disciplined by the Lord, not punished, not that kind of discipline. I mean, disciplined like an athlete is disciplined, right? Like being disciplined by a loving parent, by a loving father or God. Sometimes if you can just kind of turn around whatever trial you're in and look at it through that perspective, what are you teaching me? What opportunities are there for me to learn something in the middle of this trial? Like, what rainbow is there in this storm? What promise from God is there in this storm? Speaking of my husband, he said, I have lost friends because of this craziness in the world who are just like this guy. Cannot talk with them because they just yell over you. Yeah, we have dealt with that. We also are blessed, my husband, I have to say, we are blessed with some friends who are in the leftist ideology who are still, they're not so taken over by it that they've become the cult-like ones who unfriend and demonize you. We have some friends who are leftists who, believe it or not, are still open-minded enough to talk with us, who love us and who we love. And I'm just grateful for that. I don't know how much longer that will continue given these times that we're in, because all of this stuff that's happening, this terrorism that they're enacting, like the purpose of it is to make us hate each other, obviously. It's to force a balkanization, right? So I'm just grateful for the time that we do have with friends of differing opinions who love us enough and who we love enough to be able to say, I think your beliefs are evil, but I think you have a good heart. I think you're a good person, even if you are deluded by an evil belief system. And some think that about me for sure. Like they think I'm all the things, right? Like, so, Push-ups for $5 says, ironically, they don't know that's from the Communist Manifesto. They all heard it from Asada Shakur. Yeah, they don't know where anything comes from that they say. Peters JJ, hi, I know who you are. For $5 says, Lemon is so against white supremacy, he married a white dude. True. Robert Lowry gifted 10 Deprogrammed memberships. Thank you, Robert. Give it up for Robert, one of our mods. I appreciate you, Mr. Lowry. Super Bass says, turn the chat green. He means with memberships. If you're on YouTube, I think it shows up, your name shows up green if you have a membership. Robert Lowry gifted 5 more memberships, and Super Bass gifted 5 more. Thank you guys so much. John Thomas for $2 says, it's not the revolution, it's about naked power. It is. It's about both, though. I mean, that's what the revolution is. They want to enact a revolution for naked power. They, here, look at this. I pulled this one up too, and I wasn't going to share it, but I will share it. We have time because this is about naked power. This is something Elon Musk quote tweeted saying, he said, they mean it. And it was a clip that Tim Young shared and said, the Democrat playbook is to arrest every single person who disagrees with them and to stack the Supreme Court to make sure those people have zero rights. This Democratic consultant lays it out in plain English. Like, they tell you what they're going to do. Listen to her.
The blue tsunami means that Congress is going to haul Elon Musk, big balls, and a bunch of other people's ass in front and say, what crimes did you commit? And it's going to get really serious. And the same with Trump, because I believe, and this is just my opinion, that Trump and all of the bottom-feeding morons surrounding him and Elon Musk and all the bottom-feeding Klingeroners that surround him, I think they commit crimes every day. And I think to reconcile all of this is going to take hardcore, not integrity Democrats. Fuck you, Democrats. Fuck you for fucking over our country. We are serious about this. We are prosecuting. We're going to uncover every document, every phone call, everything you did. We will be relentless about it. And that's the mindset they've got to have, because I think the electorate is going from, we've got to get him out, but also we want accountability.
There has to be accountability. You have to have a situation where there's accountability. And I talked about this the other day with Fanone, the former MPD police officer who almost got killed on January 6th. You know, he said, and I think it's true, that it's more than just the Dems win back the Congress and the White House. We have to change this John Roberts Supreme Court decision that gave the President of the United States a blank check. No man or woman should be above the law in this country. And Donald Trump sure as shit should not be above the law in this country. And I think the Democrats have to talk about it in these terms that, listen, if we get back in there, and I'm not saying I'm part of the Democratic Party, but I'm saying this is the way the Democrats.
Oh, come on. We know you are. I love when they try to lie. I love when they catch themselves saying something like, oh, but wait, but I'm not saying, I'm just a journalist. I'm not here as an activist. Yes, you are, you liar.
Communicate. They should say when they're back in there, if you guys are going to cling to this idea that Donald Trump is unaccountable, it's just not going to work. And that means adding seats to the Supreme Court so that immunity decision can be overturned.
Did you hear that? They want to remake the Supreme Court. Adding seats to the Supreme Court, he says. Let's continue.
And so Donald Trump can be held accountable for his crime.
So make no mistake, what you are hearing is these are communists talking about a communist overthrow of the United States, and they just say it openly. Like, they want to remake the Constitution. They want to remake the makeup of the Supreme Court. They want to create kangaroo courts so that they can prosecute their political enemies. They can come up with trumped up charges, and that they have a majority. Like, they want to take power by any means necessary, which is what they tell us all the time. They want one party rule, one religion rule, and that party and that religion are woke. And they're willing to do anything. The Constitution means nothing to them. Nothing. Ballin says, thank you for your attention to this matter. Well, thank you, Ballin, for the super chat. Thanks for supporting Deprogrammed. John Bertram. Hey, John Bertram for 10 pounds says, thank you for being you. Thank you, John Bertram. Makes me smile when I see my little antagonistic atheist UKer. My scrapping mama for $5 says, thank you for sharing this important information. Be safe and be strong. We will prevail. I think so too. We will prevail. I know who the alpha and the omega is. I know who prevails in the end. That's why even when you're going through chaotic times, it's like, if you have faith in God, like you have that strong foundation the Bible talks about. C.S. Lewis talks about how life with God is not freedom from difficulties. No, because, the Bible says it, God causes it to rain and for the sun to shine on both the wicked and the good. Like, you're going to have difficulties. Everyone has difficulties. Life with God is not freedom from difficulties. It's just peace through the storm. It's peace through those difficulties. We know who prevails in the end. And this is why a lot of atheist friends often reach out to me and other Christians I know saying, I wish I had your faith because I feel hopeless. And it's like, I wish you had my faith too. And if you're one of those people, because I've talked to so many atheists who've said this, I know not all, I know some are very happy to remain atheists. And I'm not talking to you. Talking about the people who say they wish they had faith. My pastor, Bradley Helgerson, talked about how when he got to that place as an atheist where he wished he had faith, that he started doing the prayer in the Bible. There's a line, there's a piece of scripture where this man says to Jesus, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. And so if you are one of those people who wishes you had faith in God, but you think it's just impossible for you, maybe try starting with that prayer. Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. And see what happens. Hey, Michael Collier. Thank you for the super chat. He says, another great show, right on point. Thank you, sir. John Bertram for £2. To be fair, why didn't he just step aside? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Oh, if you're talking about the ICE agent with the car, I mean, I think that all of that speculative armchair analysis stuff, like the sofa hero stuff, is just kind of pointless. Police officers, law enforcement are trained for, when you're in a situation where someone's trying to kill you, they are trained to eliminate the threat. And they go through drills, thousands and thousands of drills of how to eliminate the threat. They don't go through thousands and thousands of drills on how to jump out of the way of a moving car. And when your lizard brain takes over, that's why I used to help train law enforcement in California. I worked with a firearms defense company. I had my handgun instructor certificate from the NRA, and sometimes we would have law enforcement groups come in, or we would have security guards come in from the casinos. And we had everyday people come in as well. We had a lot of women come in for self-defense training who were dealing with stalkers and harassment and things like that. But sometimes we would get law enforcement in there, and you would get to see, like, if you're training and you're doing thousands of hours of drawing from the holster and firing off 2 rounds at an imminent threat, like, that's what you're trained to do. You are trained to eliminate the threat. You're not doing 1,000 trainings on, like, here's a vehicle speeding towards you. Now practice jumping out of the way before you get hit, so that your lizard brain is like, I'm going to jump. That's just not what you're trained to do. And so to sit in our armchairs or on our sofas and to fantasize, I've seen a lot of leftist men, these sofa heroes, like fantasizing this armchair quarterbacking where they're like, well, what I would have done is I would have, if I were the law enforcement agent and a car was speeding towards me, I would have done this. And I would, oh, give me a break. You're like the armchair quarterbacks during a football game. Like, okay, big hero, like paint us a picture of what you think you would have done. It's pointless. I mean, it's masturbatory. Go have your masturbatory fantasy about what it would have looked like. And some of these guys explained to me what they would have done, and I just imagine it with a soundtrack, like what's that song? Chariots of what is it? Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Like, I just imagine slow-mo. They're like, and then I would have turned and jumped out of the way and done a ballerina twirl. Okay. Whatever. The law doesn't care. The law doesn't care. The law is only, self-defense law is only concerned with, was there a reasonable determination of imminent threat or not? And there was. So for the leftists who are upset about that, I mean, I've been telling them, like, well, be prepared to have a lot of feelings about the law in the coming years. And the law doesn't care. Peters for $5 says, Keri, this guy is the moral equivalent of the guy during the BLM riots. There's my Biden sign. Remember that? I don't remember that. I'm going to have to look that up now. There's my Biden sign. Oh, you're talking about the guy who's like, I respect you, while they're accosting him. I respect what you're doing, like kissing the ring. I don't remember this particular guy you're talking about, but I know there was a lot of that happening. And a lot of poor, like, people, like business owners and stuff, were putting signs in their windows during the BLM riots that said BLM and stuff, because they were hoping it would protect them from being looted and rioted and having their windows smashed in and their businesses destroyed. It was sort of like in the Bible, right, where they were painting the blood above the door so that they would be passed over. They would kind of like put these BLM signs in their windows, like, I'm one of you, please don't destroy my business. It's so pathetic. I mean, I get why they're doing it. It's just like, we shouldn't be in a situation where people have to do that to try and protect themselves from roving gangs of terrorists. Blatant Localism says, I am starting Eric Hoffer's The True Believer tonight. Awesome. That's been recommended by many people. Thank you for the super chat, Blatant Localism. Russ Williams says, pro tip, don't put a BLM sign in your own window. Put a Trump sign in your leftist neighbor's garden. Chariots of Fire. Yeah, that's the song. Thank you, Texas Sheep Lady. I just imagine all these leftist sofa heroes who are like, what I would have done is this. And then they tell me this elaborate fantasy that they have. And I just imagine the slow-mo with the soundtrack behind it, like, dun, 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 dun. Like, I would have turned and jumped out of the way of the moving vehicle if it were me. Like, this is how I would have done that play on the football field, So funny. Okay. Thank you guys for joining today, and thanks for joining at a different time. We did it late today. If you're watching this later, I apologize. It wasn't at the usual time. Just couldn't do it at 2 today. Yeah, electric company. They imagine themselves like backflipping off the hood, like dun 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 dun. And then they would have found a black person and did a high five, and they would have spun around, and then they would have you just like the most leftist fantasy you could imagine. Like, this is what I would have done, and then they would have pulled some roses out of their back pocket for Renee Good and been like, "Excuse me, my lady, here's your roses. Thanks for obstructing me today." Anyway. John Thomas says you left out my super chat at the beginning of the stream before you started. Oh, well, what did you say? You don't have to super chat again. Just say it and I'll share it. I'm sorry. I don't have it here on the back end. It might have been because YouTube, we had all those tech problems, and YouTube did they were doing 2 different formats. They had like landscape and vertical. And some of you might have posted that on the vertical version. Some people were like, "Why is there vertical?" I don't know. I don't know why they're offering this now, but some streamers are saying you should do this. If you think I should do vertical, let me know. I don't think so, but Floofy gifted 10 memberships also. Thank you very much, Floofy. Thanks for supporting Deprogrammed. Anthony says the hero is like dun dun na 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 na. He looks like, "Excuse me, my lady," with roses. I would have backflipped off the hood if it were me, and then I would have paid for Renee Good's child to go to college to a leftist institution, and I would have bought her wife, her and her wife, a date night out. What? John Bertram? Are you joking? F off. Why? About the leftist roses? Okay. Aspie. Yes, I got your super chat earlier. Thank you. It's gone now, so I can't read it again. I'm sorry. Robert Lowry says, check your YouTube settings, see if they added something. Okay. I will. I'll check it after this. John Thomas, I'm waiting to see. Is this what you said earlier? I'm tired of fake pacifist Christians. You left rants unread Friday. I did? Well, tell me what you said. If it was your rant, I don't know why it's not showing up for me. I'm happy to read it. If that's what you wanted to say, you're tired of pacifist Christians. I'm happy to read it. If that's about what we were talking about earlier, I mean, don't misunderstand me. I obviously, clearly believe in self-defense. In fact, I've been defending it all week. We have the right as citizens, even ICE agents, even cops, we have the right to use deadly force to prevent imminent harm on our person. We have that right. I believe in self-defense. I believe all churches should have security teams. They should be armed. But you don't have a right to use lethal force against people who come in screaming in your church service. I don't think that would be wise to do that. If they physically harm you, then yes. If they physically try to attack you, then yes, you do have that right. But I think that pastor was wise to firmly stand up against them and to condemn them and what they were doing. And then also to make sure, I hope it's not just the attorney general who sues. The attorney general is pursuing federal charges against those leftist terrorists for interrupting that church service and terrorizing those people. But like a lot of other people, I hope the church sues as well. I hope the parents of all of those children who were terrorized sue. I hope they get civil settlements in the millions of dollars from Don Lemon and those other terrorists. Like, they need to bankrupt them and land them in prison for what they did. Thank you, SD0. That's right. They want us to attack them without cause. That's what they want. Robert Lowry says he meant Rumble rants from Friday. Oh, Oh, was it Rumble Rants? Okay. I don't know if those show up for me. I apologize. I will figure that out before the next episode. I don't know if they show up in StreamYard. I think they do, and I think I may have just missed them for some reason. I apologize. Don Lemon needs to go to prison. They will love him there. Yeah, he will love it there, won't he? If they haven't physically assaulted you, under the law, John Thomas, it is without cause. I mean, what you and I think about the cause may differ, but the law doesn't give us a right to shoot someone because they come into the church screaming. It doesn't. If they come into the church physically threatening us, then yes, you have a right to self-defense. I'm just saying it would not be wise for me to tell you something that's not true. You are allowed to remove people from your property. Well, that's true. That's true. There's something called the castle doctrine. Yes, if somebody breaks into your home, you are allowed to use lethal force. In most states, depends. They don't all have the castle doctrine. I'm not sure about Minnesota and how that applies to churches, so I'm not going to speculate because I'm not going to give you bad advice. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up for now. I will see you guys on Wednesday. We're going to do a Christian panel. I've got to let you know what time, if it's going to be the regular time or not, or if those guys can move it. We have friends visiting, so I'll let you know, but I'll see you later this week. Thank you for being here. And if you get a chance, please let people know about that Crime Think pamphlet. Let them know the left has been planning this for a long time and they're celebrating it and they want to do more of it. Let them know that Rachel Maddow shared that and thought it was a good thing. Because a lot of people don't, especially the puppets, the leftist puppets on the ground, they have no idea who's using them and why and how. So I think that's a good link to share. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.